Welcome back to Sharks Happen. My name is Hal. I'm your host, going over shark attacks from the 1900s till present, mostly large sharks. We're going to start out over off the North Farallon Islands, which is off of California. The date is September 14th, 1974. John Holcomb, he's 29 years old, and he's out doing some abalone diving. He's got his abalone iron, he's out in the water, he's the only one going. He's got support people in his boat waiting. He gets about 12 meters from his boat. He's down in about 12 feet of water. There's a drop off that leads to 60 feet a little ways away from him, but he's in 12 feet of water at the time, 200 meters from shore. It's 1:30 in the afternoon, and he's been in the water for 10 minutes. He's swimming along the bottom, he says, looking for red abalone that are kind of showing themselves out of the sand and rocks and crevices. So he's swimming along. He says he didn't recognize and realize a shark was around. He said that he was having regulator problems, and when he was breathing, it was letting off low frequency vibrations. Shark came up and hit him in the side, hit him in the right side hard. Released him pretty quick and grabbed onto his right arm, sounds like his right elbow, and shook him for about 3 to 5 seconds. Then the shark let go of him, and then it took its snout and pushed him in the chest, started bumping him in the chest 3 or 4 times, pushing him backwards through the water now. It suddenly stops doing that, and it bites his left arm and the forearm and starts shaking him around for 3 to 5 seconds. Finally releases him, and it goes to swim away. He picks up his abalone iron and whacks it in the side as it's swimming off. He watches the shark get about, he says, 5 meters away, so it gets about 20 feet away. It's about 20-foot visibility in the water. They say 7 meters. He sees it get 20 feet away. He says it basically just folded itself in half, like it was made of rubber, and charged back at him. Now the shark bumped him, and he grabbed it by the corner of the mouth when it went by. It didn't end up biting him that time, and he grabbed it so that it couldn't. So now he's holding on to it here. Shark is dragging him through the water, he says, at 5 to 10 knots, and it's taken his mask, put it at his chin. He looks up and sees light, so he knows he's by the surface. He lets go, gets to the surface. Surface is about 12 meters from the boat, screams to them to pick him up. They get over there and get him out of the water. It doesn't sound like the shark was still after him after that. He went ahead and he was defending himself, and the shark bit him 3 times. I mean, it grabbed him by the arm, shook him like a rag doll. Who knows? I think it was just going to swim off. Him hitting it with the iron might have made it decide to come back and make that one last charge, but it didn't do any damage on that last charge, luckily. And he gets away with just. He's got his elbow, and he's got lacerations at about 7 centimeters going along there, and different teeth marks. Same thing with his left forearm. He's got teeth marks in there, 3 or 4 teeth marks, and his right thigh had been bitten. I believe that's where he was bitten in the first place. They got him in, and he spent a couple weeks in a hospital, and he was fine. That's an attack. We're not going to put it down as an attempt to predate, because he, smacked it with that iron before it came back at him for that last time. And those first 3 times, it could have done whatever it wanted to, but it kind of was just nudging him around, bit his 2 arms, bit his leg, nudged him around, but it wasn't, tearing meat off or even raking him with the teeth, it doesn't sound like. So that's what we're going to put it down as, an attack and not a fatality. Okay, now we're going to stay in California to a surf spot called 4 Doors. It's on Aguilera State Beach. The date is June 24th, 2011. Doug Green, he's out doing some surfing. He's been on the water for about 90 minutes. He's about 300 meters from shore, 12 feet deep water, 12 to 15 feet deep water, and it's about 1:30 in the afternoon. He's sitting upright on this board, and he's waiting for a wave to come along, when suddenly something leaps up on the board right in front of him. At first he thinks it's a dolphin, until he sees gill slits, and then he sees dorsal fin right in his face. He says there was about a foot of the shark hanging off the one side and hanging off the other side, right across the middle of the board, until it finally wiggled its way off and disappeared. No injury to the guy. This reminds me of the spinner shark that flipped up there. The descriptions of the shark, turns out it's a juvenile white shark. So you're talking a little 5-foot juvenile white shark jumped up on somebody's board, wiggled around, and jumped back in the water. No injury, luckily, and we're not going to count it as an attack. I just wanted to bring it up. If it wasn't a white or one of the big 3, I wouldn't have talked about it. But that's our story of Doug Green. Okay, now we're going to head over off a spot in Mexico. It's north of Sonora. It's called the Hayway. The date is December 18th, 2018. Nahum Aguilera is 35 years old and he's going diving. Sounds like he dove on the shark. Sounds like he plopped right onto it out of the boat. He wasn't in the water a minute when he was pretty much attacked and killed by the shark. So I think he probably landed on a large tiger. They don't say how large, but it has to be pretty large for the damage it did. He gets in the water less than a minute and his left leg is completely bitten off. His abdomen is partly bitten off and he's got scratches to his right leg. I'm thinking inner thigh on the right leg due to the teeth coming in and biting off the left leg. It's fatal. You know, they got him out of the water, but it was fatal. It didn't try to eat him, but it bit him a few times, at least twice, and then hit the road. It sounds like that, you know, they didn't stick around trying to finish him off. I'm going to put it down as an attack and not an attempt to predate, not when you're in the water a minute. I think it landed on it. You land on a shark, that's a tough one to blame it for the shark doing what it's doing. And that's our story of Nahum Aguilera. And now we're going to stay in Mexico. We're going to head to a spot called Los Obolitos. The date is May 6, 2017. Andre Fernandez, he's 33 years old, and he and a bunch of friends, they're at the beach. They're having like a picnic. He decides he's going to go out snorkel close to shore. He's snorkeling close to shore, about 100 feet from shore, and he disappears. They call a search party in, and they search the area. They find his mask and they find his shirt, and his shirt has teeth marks in it. The next day, so 48 hours after the attack, they end up finding his remains. Fatality. He had probably an attempt to consume. They don't tell you any details on what had happened to the body. Assuming it was pretty bad, though. I'm assuming that, you know, some large shark grabbed onto him and took him away, like they do if they'd like to take you out to sea. We hear all the time about them trying to drag people off into deeper waters, and many times they don't make it. Well, when people don't notice and nobody can help, it's kind of hard to have help to stay on shore like that, and that was the end of him. So we're going to put that down as an attack and a predation. Okay, now we're going to finish our unprovoked attacks over in South Africa in Maine estuary. We've had one in the bay earlier. This one's in the estuary. This is 10 to 12 miles into the estuary. There was a group of men, and they were handling a prawn net. The date is December 17th, 1970. They're handling a prawn net, and an unidentified gentleman, black gentleman, he was 18 to 22 years old. They don't even know how old, but he was on the edge of the net, and he was walking it along this sandbar, but he was in neck deep water. So he's walking this net along this sandbar, water's up to his neck, and suddenly a shark comes up and grabs him by the shoulder and bites off his shoulder and his arm, and he either fell into the water or the shark dragged him into the water, but as soon as he got down in the water with his head, the shark bit his head off. So that was it. The rest of the men were able to splash the water and make noise and chase the shark away. They don't say what kind. They don't even say what size. I'm imagining it's got to be pretty big to bite your shoulder and arm off. The head, not that big a deal, I mean, as far as biting it off, but you know, that one's just terrible. You would want those events to happen in reverse order. So that's just a terrible attack. It's an attack, an attempt to predate. If the other men weren't there to chase that shark off, I think it would have finished the job. So that's how we're going to put that down on this, you know, unidentified black man aged 18 to 22. That's the end of our attacks, and we'll get into the end of the show right now. Just wanted to cover something I was going to cover. I went through and I was doing my research yesterday, and I was preparing. I was all ready to do the Maine attack. That's all. That's the first fatality in Maine. They don't have many attacks at all in Maine. I don't know how many sites I visited, and I just, you know, I couldn't find anything. I found. I'll let you know what I have right now for a report. I mean, I was going to do it, do this report on it, call it that Maine attack, and show you that there's no information out there. They'll tell you her name, they'll tell you her biography, that she was a successful woman at New York. I don't care about all that. None of that matters to this shark, what this shark did to this person. So, witness had seen it. There's 2 witnesses on kayaks that ended up putting her on the kayak and bringing her in. her daughter went swimming ashore after the attack, but we'll go over it. She's out there, her and her daughter are swimming. They're about just 60 feet from shore. I mean, 20 yards from shore, it sounds like. And they're swimming along. The guy's in his house, and he's hearing them laughing and seeing them out there splashing and having fun. And then he sees her get lifted out of the water. He said about a foot and a half. So she kind of got lifted up out of the water. The others saw the shark partially breach, so they got to see it from the other side that were on this kayak. Took her underwater. The daughter went to swim over there, and then whatever she saw, she went swimming to the beach. Got to the beach, just fell to the ground and screamed for help. The two kayakers that swam over, they pulled the woman up, Julie Holowach is her name, pulled her up onto their kayaks and got her into shore. But what she died of is a clue. I have no clue what happened to her. I don't know. You know, it's like that James Oatley and the gummy shark, the gummy bear shark that bit him in the leg. This guy's all bandaged up, and they say all he needed was shots. But I wanted to bring this up. The further we get into this, the closer to the present we get to these experts and marine biologists that are in the field now, the less information we're getting. We're getting none. Absolutely none. Kelp beds, 2015, I think it was. Don't quote me on the time. But that's long enough. You should have some idea of what those witnesses told the authorities that made them switch from a search and rescue to a recovery. Same thing with the double shark attack that just happened over in Australia. They say it's a tiger and a great white. Have you heard a thing on that? They took and buried that video as quickly as they could on Nellist, and now we got this woman, the only fatality in Maine, and they won't let us have any details of what that shark did. You look, and I got the Mammoth book, and I brought the Mammoth book up before. You read that and you read Baldrich's books, and you see the difference once you get past 1968 on the reporting of attacks. The Navy had started the funding for the shark attack file to protect their sailors. Their sailors, like from the Indianapolis that were in the water. They were trying to figure out why these things are attacking and everything, and trying to protect people. Now they're hiding all the information from the people to protect sharks. You protect the people, you protect the sharks, but you protect the sharks, you're protecting nobody. It's just ridiculous what's going on. I wanted to bring that to your attention. This is why I don't have anything to say to any expert, I don't know, where is David Baldrich? Where is somebody that's going to tell the truth about this stuff? They're not around anymore. So that's the thing, is we're going to have to be scrounging for information. I'm going to have to try to find out how I'm going to get details on these attacks. I guess wait till the channel gets large enough, and then we start screaming, where's our information? Why aren't you protecting the public? So, you know, people should be informed. It's not like you're telling them, don't go in our waters. You're just telling them what happened. You're telling them what can happen. Don't tell them it's an accident, which is exactly what mistaken identity is. You might as well say it was an accident. So to tell people these are accidents when people are being eaten is just ridiculous. It's criminal in my mind. And that's our show for today. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you join me in a couple more days for another set of attacks. But until then, if you go in that water, you are much more afraid of those sharks than they are of you.